Let's take you back to Soweto now, where we are speaking to Sibusiso Hlatshwayo, community member and White City Street Safety Patroller. We do understand he was also among those early this morning who were patrolling the streets. And let's speak to him now. Sibusiso, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And of course, feel free to express yourself in any language that you feel you can. I will translate for the viewers. How did you find these children? Sibusiso, if you can unmute yourself, please. You are on mute.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem.
Yes, the kids were actually reported lost yesterday to us as patrollers and to the community groups. So now what happened was we as patrollers, we gave it, we actually took it to ourselves that we need to actually patrol the area as much as we can. So we patrolled the whole night yesterday. We actually patrolled this morning. So early hours of this morning while we were patrolling, one of our resident members came out and then made us notice that there's somebody there at the bush there who's actually being laid there, and that person there is dead, and that person is a child. So to our minds, it came that we've been looking for children. It could be one of the kids that we're looking for. So we actually went to there to actually see this kids, that the child is actually dead there. We found that the child we identified that is the very same child we were actually looking for. So now the question was, if these kids were actually 3, where would be the other 2? So now we had to now speak to other community members, community policing members, forum members, that we need to now spread the location around in our zones and see what we can actually find out. Luckily, the patrollers from Rockville came up with a very good help, and they did identify the body. They did see the body there at the Rockville Moroka Dam. They identified the second body of a child. So now that's when we ran again to Moroka Dam. So we identified the child, we saw the child. The child was confirmed that was one of the kids that were lost. So now the third one there, it was questionable where the child is, but then the third one was actually returned back to their parents. So we're talking now, the child is at Moroka police station, but there we couldn't get so much information from the child because he's still scared. He's still frightened of what had just happened to those to his friends.
I know you say that, and pardon me for coming in there, I know you say that information, of course, at this moment is still sketchy, but do we know if, they were kidnapped by a car? Because we're hearing that there was a white sedan, or how did they disappear?
Oh yes, ma'am. It was mentioned that there was a car, a white car, but now that white car there could not be identified as in what brand was it. That white car, I'm thinking it was used to kidnap them. It was also used to actually bring them back to where we found them, because when you see the scene where they were actually late, you would see that it was not a scene whereby people were actually active. There's no footsteps, there's no blood there. So meaning that those kids were killed somewhere else, and then whatever that was done on those kids was done, and then they were brought back to those areas. Because when they were brought back, they were spread now. They were put in different areas. We could find one in Rockville, one in White City.
Now, when of course you look at this as the community, how fearful are you as parents that this might happen again? Because we do understand 2 months ago another child was found.
It's so very scary, because now we do not know who is actually committing all of these things here and what's happening. But we as CPF, we are trying our level best to find out as to what's happening around here, our area, because now it seems to be happening like concurrently now. Every single month now we seem to be having such incidents, and those incidents, when they happen normally in our parks where kids are actually playing. So it is very scary as parents. It is very scary as CPF as well, because we might be living with the very same person who's actually doing all of these things here, but we just don't know who that person is. So the kids are going to school, they need to be guarded. The kids run about this time, they just need to be in their yards, because now it's not safe out there anymore.
And Sibusiso, I mean, there's talk of the state of the bodies and how they were actually found, mutilated, and was so difficult to watch. And I'm sure it was very difficult for you to see them in that state. What is the community suspecting could be the reason why they were this mutilated?
Yes, the state the babies, these kids were actually found in. One kid the nose was not there. They've taken out the face, the nose and the mouth. Then the other one there, the hands were not there. They've taken out the hands. and then they've also cut their throats, and then they've also taken their private parts. So now that you know that if something like that happens, it does put suspicions that some cultural things were happening with these kids. So they did some cultural things that we would say sometimes maybe they would call them some they would say ubutagati, some they would say some they would say sangomas, but then we don't have a right to point fingers at the moment because we don't know what's happening. But the evidence we found around those bodies there, we found ubuhlalo bezangoma laphayana, so we don't know exactly what was happening there or what just happened.
Ubuhlalo bezangoma nibthole phe bantwaneni noreceleni?
Sibthole nje eceleni nje scattered, uyabona ukuthi ngathi kuhlephukile nje, and then we just found the beads laying around there.
So kusho ukuthi mhlawumbe umuntu bekambeka uye wanqanyukelwa ilokhu njani, possibly necklace yabo yobuhlalo?
I'm believing so, yes.
And amaphoyisa says,
well, the cops, they did actually help today. I would say they did come and help today, because as patrollers, normally we struggle with this, with our police officers. Like, for instance, there's an incident whereby we even went to our nearest police station, that would be your Moroka police station. Once, it was once closed by our community and CPF. Why? Because they're not responding whenever we're having cases. Such incidents, people are being killed. Their cases would end up just nowhere. You follow up, you make a follow-up, the victims are, the culprits are outside, you ask why is the culprit outside, they won't give you an answer. So yeah, the police indeed, I wouldn't lie, they are actually failing us as CPF, and while we are actually trying to assist them as well. But they are definitely failing the community, yes.
Sibusiso, thank you so much for your time. We'll continue to monitor the story and see what happens. As we understand, the Premier and the MEC are on their way to that community, to the area where you are right now. That's Sibusiso Hlatshwayo, community member and White City Street Safety Patroller. Just before we go for a break, he was mentioning something very critical there in isiZulu. He says that they found beads that resemble those that are used by sangomas, that would be worn by other sangoma, and they look like probably that necklace came undone as they were laying the body of the child, because they found some red and white beads which they believe belonged to a sangoma, and it's also making them believe that this could have been possibly a ritual murder. But we'll continue to monitor the story for you.